This is Kathy from Gadgets Top 321. In today's video, I'm going to be taking a look at Lamy Tourmaline. I'll be testing it in a variety of nib sizes ranging from an extra fine nib to a 1.5 stub, and I've added a couple Lamy nibs to the lineup. I've got my Lamy logo with a 14 karat extra fine nib, and I'll also be testing it in my Lamy CP1 with a medium stainless steel nib. But I'm going to start with my Pilot 78G Plus with an extra fine nib. This extra fine nib is putting down a nice legible crisp line. It's not bad. I wouldn't mind this for just little short notes. I wouldn't want to like journal with it or take a bunch of notes, like notes for a class. I'm just going to put not scratchy for this one. But it looks good. Next, I have my Sailor Pro Gear Slim with a fine nib. This one's been kind of iffy with some of the recent ink samples. It started good. I'm just going to abbreviate Pro Gear Slim. There's a decent amount of feedback, but it's not unpleasant if you like feedback. Now, if you like the glassy smooth nibs, I'm going to put nice on this one. But I am going to put that there's feedback. And next, I've got my Lamy logo with a 14 karat Lamy nib. Now, this is one of my favorite nibs. I really enjoy writing with this, but it didn't come in this pen. It came in my Lamy Studio, and my Lamy Studio, it doesn't have the stainless steel grip. It's got like a finished grip like this, but I just don't like the shape of it. And I was always kind of ho-hum about this Lamy logo when I had a steel nib in it, but now that I've put this gold nib in it, this is one of my favorite pens. And the Lamy stainless steel nibs don't have any tipping on them, but these gold nibs have a little bit of tipping, and they're ground in such a way that it's almost, it's almost like it's just a slight architect grind, and it's smooth and it's got a little bounce to it. I just really enjoy that. And it's got a decent amount of wetness. The ink flows really well. Next, I have my Platinum 3776. And this is putting down a decent amount of ink. This is a medium. And this Lamy Tourmaline is looking a little darker in this nib. And I'm going to put nice. This has some feedback like the Sailor nib, but I like it. That's a nib. This is a pen that I just, if I'm going to be writing a lot, this is a nice pen. Next, I have the Kaweco Perkeo with a medium nib. And this usually gives inks like this. You can see the shading a little more. When that dries, we'll see. And this also has about the same amount of feedback, surprisingly, as the Platinum 3776. Okay, next I've got the Lamy CP1 with a medium nib. I've been having some trouble with this recently with hard starts and some skipping, and I have a theory about that. Yep. Every time I write Lamy, that first downstroke skips. And I think it's because I didn't notice this. I didn't notice it skipping as much. Maybe it's always done this, but I think there's an issue with the nib matching up to the feed. It could be because I switch nibs on this pen quite a bit. I switch between the medium and the extra fine. I also have a fine nib. And Lamy stainless steel nibs, they're good just workhorse nibs, but there's nothing fun about them. They're just so. And with that skipping issue, I forgot who it was. Someone mentioned in the comments that they have trouble with their Lamy nibs, and they think it's because it just the nib dries out in the cap. The cap doesn't have a good seal. I'm not sure. It could be a combination of things. Next, I have a Pilot Metropolitan with a cursive medium nib. This is very enjoyable. Very smooth and a pretty ink. That's just a really nice combo. Next, I've got my Nemosine Singularity with a 0.6 stub nib. This is also really smooth. All right, and last but not least, the Jinhao X750 with a 1.5 stub. Now, on some of these nibs that have put down a heavy amount of ink, we're probably going to see some nice red sheen. But while we're waiting for that to dry, let's take a look at some of the other paper samples. In my ARC notebook, okay, this is a lot more green in real life than I'm seeing here. This just looks turquoise. So before you consider this ink, you know, check out some place that has a nice color corrected pictures. But as far as how it performs in a pen, in the extra fines, it wasn't scratchy, but you know, like I said, for a short note or making an entry in a planner, it would be perfectly fine, but just not for journaling, or I wouldn't like to take classroom notes in it. The Sailor Pro Gear Slim did well. I liked it. Now, the rest of these were nice. They were smooth writing, but some of the nibs that put down more ink, they were just a little bit too wet. Let's see how this did. Not terrible. The extra fine and fine didn't really bleed through, but the rest, you know, had a little bit of bleed through. Let me see about the perkeo. It looks like it's a little bit drier. Yeah, the perkeo was okay. You could write on both sides of the paper, and I like the shading you get with the perkeo. All right. On the Rhodia paper, similar results. The extra fine was not scratchy. I included the Lamy CP1, and you see it had trouble getting started, and it was just, it's ho-hum. It looks kind of nice on camera, but I really do prefer the 14 karat, and you can see a little bit how the downstrokes are just ever so slightly more narrow than the side strokes. Just gives just the hint of character to your writing. The Metropolitan and the Nemosine were really smooth. I always enjoy writing with those. And I'm not seeing any sheen, but you can see some shading there on that stub nib. And I wanted to compare it. After I looked at my order, after I ordered it, I thought, why did I get Amazonite, and Tourmaline? They look really similar. And I don't know if you'll be able to see it. I guess you can a little bit. This one's more green. The Tourmaline is more green. And if you like a little bit more blue in your teal, the Amazonite would be the way to go. But they're both very similar in performance, and they both on Tomoe River paper have that just little tiny bit of sheen. Let's see, on 20-pound copy paper, let's see how it bled. It bled through quite a bit, and so did the Amazonite. So like I said, they perform pretty similarly. You get into the wetter nibs, and they're smooth. Some of these nibs are smooth riders, but like, let's see, the perkeo didn't bleed through. There's quite a bit of show through, but the perkeos didn't put down as much ink, so it was probably the best option. The Pro Gear Slim, I didn't write anything beside it. It was just, okay. And I haven't been showing my Leuchtturm. I kind of got out of the swing of how I do these writing samples. But you can see Amazonite and Tourmaline beside each other. This is not showing the color of the ink very well, but you can see the amount of shading you're going to get with these two. And there is, on those dark sections, you can see that halo. That is a halo of red sheen, so an interesting ink. And again, on Tomoe River, you can probably see it a little bit better, the red sheen you get. And this was pretty, on Tomoe River paper, really all of these nibs were pleasant to use. The 78G, the extra fine, was nice if you were going to be like using it like this in a planner on these little tight grids. And it's nice and very visible, very legible. All right, so I did a couple of Lamy inks And I kind of liked those. I was kind of bummed out when I tried the Lamy Mango. It was a little too pale for me, but these two, I would say those are winners. All right, if you found this video helpful, please give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe to my channel.